Heartiest congratulations for hitting out a sixer.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ronika.
So are you overwhelmed with the response?
I am quite honestly. I think I've never got this kind of appreciation, and love for a film before. Of course, we have had successful films before, but there's just something very unique about the kind of appreciation that is coming for 83. It's not like I was saying earlier also. Usually for a film, people go and watch it and you get a message saying, "Great film, really enjoyed it, very entertaining. Thank you so much, congratulations." That kind of stuff. None of that is coming for 83. 83, it's a minimum two-pager that comes. It's some sort of an emotional catharsis that people are having and talking about their, you know, inner feelings and the experience that they had while they were crying and laughing. It's overwhelming, actually, as a filmmaker, to get that kind of love and appreciation. Ranveer and I were discussing that never in our, at least in our careers, have we had this kind of a euphoric appreciation for anybody who's gone into the theaters and watched the film. They're just coming out and having a really an emotional catharsis.
What's the most flattering compliment that you got so far?
There have been so many, but there is one that I would like to mention because it was from a friend, and it was she never watches cricket, and it sort of has stayed in my mind because she messaged me saying that as I was growing up, it wasn't that I didn't like cricket, I hated cricket. When somebody at home put on the TV and started watching matches, I would get upset and I would cry and I would just not like it. And she said, when I was watching your film, I was like, oh my God, if this is what sports does to you, have I missed out on a large part of my life? Did I, make a mistake by not taking part in celebration of that sport? So I think from that, it really got me tears in my eyes when I read that. And those are the kind of responses that I've been getting, and the strongest responses are actually from people who don't watch cricket, who are not cricket buffs. Because I said, cricket buff ka, so it's very simple. आप उनको सिर्फ Tunbridge Wells का chapter दिखा दीजिए, वो उसी में खुश हो जाएंगे कि we don't need anything more than this to be thrilled. But what has really worked is the fact that, which is what I really worked hard for, is to make sure that this film reaches out to more than just the cricket buffs. It should be seen as this amazing story of triumph of the human spirit. Because I've said this very often, that a sport story is actually never about the sport. It's about the triumph of the human spirit. It's a classic underdog story where you root for, when everybody's up against them, you want to root for them and make sure that they win against all the odds.
Most people think that bringing cricket and cinema together, India's primetime passions, is a winning combination anyway.
True, but I often say it's nobody ever comes to watch a sport into a theater. They will always come to watch a human story. Of course, the sport is cricket and it's religion in India, so they will always come and celebrate it. But if you're just showing cricket for the sake of cricket, I think people will get bored after some time. Unless the human drama and the story running through that cricket is strong, people would then rather watch the real match, right, instead of watching a dramatized version of
it. You were talking of tears. And your movies often make us cry. So whether it's Bajrangi Bhaijaan or this one, or I wouldn't say the same for Ek Tha Tiger though, but these two in particular. How important is the emotional connect for you?
It's all about emotions, isn't it? That's what a story should be about. It should move you emotionally. So I think for me, the greatest compliment is when somebody says that, we got moved, by your film and were crying. Especially if they say that, like in 83, which I think is the greatest emotion to capture, which is where you are laughing with tears in your eyes, or you are crying while you're sort of are laughing at a joke. So that combination of of laughing and crying together, which is happening a lot in 83, I think
Yeah.
is a fabulous emotion to be able to get.
Most filmmakers in this COVID times chose the digital route and waited for a theatrical release. Do you think
Yes.
it has been worth the risk?
Now, obviously, we are living in a pandemic and everything is so unpredictable, and we know what has happened. The day we released, the Omicron really sort of hit us really hard. The very first day, 2 states went into night curfew, and then second day another 4 went night curfew. By the 4th day, Delhi, which is a very big part of our box office, has shut down. So that's really sad. We can't help it, right? These are times that we protected the film for so long to be able to come at a correct time, but unfortunately, I think the pandemic is in nobody's control. The whole world is suffering with that. So it would be really petty of me to now sit and say that it's wrong. But all I can be really grateful for is the unbelievable love and appreciation that Ranveer and I have been getting for this film. Not just Ranveer, the entire team, all the boys, everybody is like so elated by the love, and it goes to show that films are much beyond just a box office and correct timing and thing. Especially in the pandemic times, we can't sit and complain now. I think this film is going to live for very long in the hearts of people. I think people are going to watch this for a very long time to come. And initially I was a little disappointed when I was reading about the news of the night curfews and the box office being shut down and theaters shutting down, and I was getting a little feeling a little low. And then Kapil sir said a very fabulous thing, and I think that is something I've realized that's the way to look at this film also. He said, Kabir, जब 83 में हमने वर्ल्ड कप जीता था, हमें पैसे नहीं मिले थे, हमें इज्जत मिली, और उस इज्जत की वजह से आपने 40 साल बाद ये फिल्म बनाई है हमारे ऊपर. तो आपने जो ये फिल्म बनाई है और आपको जो इज्जत मिल रही है इस फिल्म के लिए, ये भी 40 साल तक चलेगी. Don't even think about this is beyond people's control. Don't think about whether the box office getting money, not money. We're living in times which are unpredictable, and so be it. I think all we can be thankful for is the great love the film is getting.
Most of the reviews, of course, have been very, very positive. Glowing reviews.
Yes.
But today only I was reading a very scathing one. So how do you process biting criticism?
The thing is that with this film, so it's too one-sided to even think of the counterpart. But usually, kya hota hai, in a good film, if there are 100 reviews, a good film will get 80 good ones. Not a good film, I would say a great film gets about 80 good ones and maybe 20 bad ones. This film has been unbelievably one-sided. So actually, we'll have to really dig to find that one bad one. At some point, actually, I was telling my marketing team, "Yaar, kuch to counterpoint nikalo. Aise kaise ho sakta hai?" So I think I'm glad at least one or two are floating there, which I have not as yet discovered. I will read them because I've been so busy, actually just reading the messages that are coming on my phone. If I was not to put my phone onto silent, we would not be able to even conduct this interview. It's just non-stop. It's ringing and beeping with, as I said, messages that are like 2 pages long. Still processing it, enjoying it, and hoping wherever, at least where the theaters are open, and where people can take their precautions. I wish people do go and enjoy this film on the big screen, because as a filmmaker, I can say enjoying this on the big screen is a completely different experience. And I hope as many people, given the circumstances that we are in right now, as many people as can go and enjoy it on the big screen. That will be really great.
Also, patriotism is almost a running thread in majority of your films. But often you are panned for that too. How do you take that? How do you respond to that criticism for wearing patriotism up on your sleeve in your movies?
My films will always reflect my ideology, right? And I'm always going to stand by my ideology. People will appreciate me for it. People will troll me for it and pan me for it. So be it. But I'm not going to change my ideology for people who think that what I'm doing is incorrect. If I feel and I believe in it, and I believe that I like to show patriotism in the true way, in the correct way, which is where it doesn't necessarily need to have an enemy in the focus, that is what I believe patriotism. Patriotism is love for your country, unconditional, right? It's not necessary to have a enemy through which you express your love for your country. You don't have to fight people to express love for your country. You can just express your love for your country because you love your country. So, right. So, I mean, that's the way it should be. It should not become toxic. It should not have any negative connotations to it. So yeah, and if some people disagree with it, I think that's the beauty of a free country, a democratic country that we live in, that people can express and their views, and some people cannot agree with it.
And your love for drama, rather melodrama, does that come naturally to you, or do you think that's an essential ingredient of masala?
No, I think whatever, the thing is, I approach my stories very organically and as from my gut instinct. So if I feel that level of pushing it is I'm comfortable with it, I'll go for it. Then I will not try and think, oh, that person might think it's melodramatic, or that person might think it's not enough. I will push it to the point that I'm comfortable with it. If I feel, okay, this moment needs a certain amount of drama, it needs to be pumped up. For me as an audience to feel happy, I will do that. And yes, there will always be some people who will feel, oh, you overdid it. Some people will say, Arey, you didn't do enough. That's the beauty of cinema, right? Ultimately, once it goes out, it's open to everybody's interpretation, and everybody is open to their opinion. As a filmmaker, I believe that we should always make a film that you as a person, the filmmaker, needs to identify with and firmly believe in, because there's no point doing it for others, because you don't know others well enough. You must always do it for yourself, because you're the only person you know absolutely and totally.
How much does your background as a documentary filmmaker inform your work? One would expect a more realistic slice of cinema from you. I'm not saying that there is realism, but that it's also married with the commercial things.
Of course it is, but you see that, I mean, it also depends on the story that I'm doing. So I believe that every story demands its own treatment. So so if I'm going to make a film like a Bajrangi Bhaijaan, yes, I know that it is a little like a fairy tale. So I'm going to narrate it like a fairy tale. But when it's a story like 83, I'm not going into a fairy tale space. In 83, I'm actually spending 2 years of my life researching out the details and making sure that everything is credible, everything is right. Almost 60-70% of the scenes are even exactly the way they were spoken in 1983. Yes, there will obviously be dramatic flair because you're making it for a larger mainstream audience. There will always be a certain creative liberty and a certain sort of mounting of scenes that we must do. But it is absolutely totally rooted in reality, down to most of the characters. Some of the characters which are actually such entertaining characters in 83 also, like the Sardar and his friend who are chasing. These are actually based on real characters. They exist. They live in London today. That little child is based on reality. So I think all that is something that in 83 we've actually tried to stay as close to reality as possible.
But I mean, of course, this is a question that you must have been asked several times. But what has been the biggest challenge of putting this sports drama together? Biggest challenge,
it works at two levels, right? I think one of the biggest challenges that you're taking an iconic moment in your history and recreating it. It's a moment which a large part of the population remembers to last to the down to the details. So yes, the whole physical approach of recreating in terms of getting the right actors, casting, making them look like the originals, their clothes, their hair, the shoes, the bats, the pads, the stadiums, all that attention to detail is it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of research and attention to detail. But that is one level. The second level, which I think is the more difficult level, and the level that we have achieved, and I'm more thrilled about that, is the fact that have we been able to recreate the emotion that the country felt in 1983 today when people are seeing the film. And I think that is something I'm really happy about, that I'm getting so many videos from theaters, which really the theaters have been converted into stadiums. People are yelling and clapping and cheering and whistling when India wins the World Cup. And that's the emotion that we wanted to capture. And that's the bigger battle and the bigger challenge that I'm happy about.
How did you arrive at that? I mean, like, is there a formula to make? You've been successful in making films which are appreciated by critics and the masses. I mean, like, is there a method behind that?
As I said, just pure gut instinct. I like to believe that I'm a very, what should I say, a very average sort of middle of the road person. I think I'm not extreme in my views about anything. So I feel that if I'm enjoying something, if I have a certain view on something, it is something that large people will connect with. and identify with. And that's the way I approach my cinema. I feel that, I try to stay true to my roots. I always base, even if I'm making a fairy tale, I will base it on research. I will try and, make it look real. And basically stay true to the story, to the soul of the story, and not do anything just for the sake of it. Just not try and do anything because I feel it will work. I will only do something that I feel uh, in my gut instinct that this is correct for the film. And fortunately for me, more times than not, it seems to have connected with a larger audience, and people have really appreciated that. And that, as a filmmaker, gives me a lot of courage to go on doing exactly the same thing.
But you prefer working with superstars. So my question is, what do they bring to on the to a film as opposed to normal actors?
Mostly, I mean, see, superstars are also actors. I mean,
Yeah.
today in the context of 83, if you're going to see it, I cannot imagine any other actor in this industry being able to pull off what Ranveer Singh has done. Yes, of course, he's one of the biggest superstars of his generation, one of the finest actors of his generation. But the fact is that what he has done is impeccable. I mean, people have come out saying we did not see Ranveer Singh. We are only seeing Kapil Dev on screen. So, if I can get an actor of that caliber and he's a superstar, then it's getting best of both the worlds, right? But I think, when a film works, you realize that it's not, of course, see, a superstar gets you a wider base, a superstar gets you more sort of visibility, becomes more high profile. But ultimately, when the film works, they become those characters. I mean, reason why Bajrangi is so popular is because yes, it's Salman Khan. He's a mega star, but Salman was Bajrangi for people. They just, found that character so endearing that they just went with it. So it's very important that those superstars become those characters for the film to really then become popular. For it to become. I mean, today, Ranveer's performance as Kapil is being touted as one of his career's best and as an iconic character. And that's really important. It's not like a superstar will come and then submerge the film. Sometimes that also can happen, and that's dangerous. It's when the superstar becomes your true collaborator that then a film really flourishes.
Of course, you said that Ranveer was your first and last choice. Hypothetical question: if had he said no, whom would you have chosen?
I'm so glad I never reached that stage because now when the film is ready, I just cannot imagine who that person would have been. And I think I would have been pretty disappointed and heartbroken had Ranveer said no. Fortunately for me, he was my first choice. And I went to him and I pitched it to him and I said it very simply. I said, Ranveer, I want you to play Kapil Dev. And, I think with that only he's just, stood up and took notice. And then, of course, I narrated the story to him. So honestly, today, I cannot even hazard a guess as to who could have pulled this off if it was not for Ranveer.
And talking of Bajrangi Bhaijaan, Salman has jumped the gun and announced a sequel.
Yes.
Bajrangi Bhaijaan, it created a bridge between India and Pakistan. What can we expect from the sequel?
So Vijayendra Prasad sir is still writing the script. So honestly, till I read the script, I don't know. I've said this before. I don't get excited by the concept of a sequel. I get excited by a story. If Salman and Vijayendra Prasad, they feel that yes, we should all get back together, and they decide to share it with me, and we sort of discuss it. And if it is a great story, why not? I mean, I would love to work with Salman again because his contribution in my career, in making my career what it is today, is immense. I mean, without Salman, the 3 films with Salman that I've done, I know I'm very clear that my position in this industry would never be what it is. So I would love to work with him, but I don't know whether it's going to be the Bajrangi sequel, will it be something else, that we get excited about. It's too early to say that.
But you'll be only too happy to be a part of it.
I'll be happy to work with Salman again for sure. Absolutely.
And would you care to create another sports drama? If yes, what would be the subject?
I would love to, but again, I would not approach a story or that. I would try to find a story because it's a sports story, because 83 is now so appreciated. I won't start looking for. It's like I actually never do that because Ekta Tiger was so successful. I didn't try looking for another spy story, or because Bajrangi was so successful, I didn't try look for something similar. I looked for something different. So I'm saying if there's a great human story, again, as I said, because for me, a sports story is not about the sport, it's about the human spirit. I would love to, because there is something very, I think, universal and appealing about sports and especially the underdog stories that come in a sports film. So if I find a great story, I would definitely go for it.
In the trying times that we are living in, how do you look at the landscape of entertainment?
You're absolutely right. We are living in difficult times. The pandemic has, has affected every industry across the world, but I think the entertainment industry is one of the worst hit. And yes, in that period, a lot of discussion has come up about, the rise of OTTs and whether theatricals will survive or will they change. I actually don't put too much importance on this divide between OTT and theatrical. I feel that they will always coexist, and there should never be OTT versus theaters, because that's not the way it's even happened the world over. I think as storytellers, we should be happy that there are two strong mediums. There are sometimes you can tell a story on theatrical, sometimes you can tell it on OTT, and I firmly believe that they will always coexist. They have, South Korea is a classic example that I always quote. It's the strongest OTT platforms, best broadband penetration, best internet speeds. But along with all this is one more fact: the highest per capita theater going population in the world. So it goes to show that there's something about theater, something about community viewing of a film that can never be replaced by anything.
But you're upbeat about the future of entertainment?
Absolutely. I think entertainment industry is entertainment that is only going to grow. We are not, especially in India, we are not even, it's not even the tip of the iceberg, because look at our theatrical reach, for example. Today, only up to maybe 3% of our population actually sees a film theatrically. So imagine the growth that can be, even in terms of the OTTs, the level of the percentage of the population that they're touching right now is nothing. It's not even 10%. So I'm saying, look at the growth that can be there in this industry. I'm very upbeat about the entertainment industry. There's going to be a lot of growth. There'll be a lot of opportunities for storytellers like me to narrate stories in multiple formats. And ultimately, that's what a storyteller wants, right? Being able to reach as many people as we can.
And okay, final question. You stated how you're very fond of Ranveer Singh and Salman Khan, but on cricketing ground, is Kapil Dev your favorite cricketer?
For life.
Yeah, right. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Khan.
Thank
and
you.
all the best for 83 and for more movies from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.